I appreciate what, hold on, I'm gonna click continue there. I appreciate you guys jumping in today and learning more about the next steps with financial aid in your admissions journey. And we're gonna go ahead and get started. If you have any questions throughout, feel free to use the chat. And I do have that open on my screen, so I'll do my best to answer those as we get going. All right, so I normally like to start out just explaining quite briefly what is financial aid. So financial aid is money to help you pay for college. Comes in a variety of formats. Gift money, which is free money. You can receive that from internal or external scholarships, federal, state, or institutional grants. There's some examples there of some various grants, Pell Grant, President's Affordability Grant, SEOG. Earned money is the second type, which comes from federal WorkStudy. And I'll explain a little bit more about federal WorkStudy here shortly. But essentially, you're earning that money throughout the academic year. And then there's borrowed money. With borrowed money, that can come from federal student loans, such as subsidized or unsubsidized. There's Parent Plus loan options, and then there's also private loan options for both students or parents to consider. And to make reference to those as well, I'll cover them in a little bit more detail here shortly. All right, so what's happened so far? So hopefully if you are in this webinar today, you have submitted your 2021 FAFSA application to OSU. Also, I hope you took the opportunity to complete scholarship applications with us earlier this year. The OSU Special Scholarship application, as well as the Ohio State ATI Scholarship application. You would have received an email notification to your OSU webmail account from Student Financial Aid when you were awarded, especially if you submitted a FAFSA application to us. And those notifications went out late February, early March this year, if you did have a FAFSA to us prior to February 1st. Otherwise, it takes a couple weeks until we can let you know of your award if we recently received your FAFSA application. If you completed ATI scholarship application with us, award letters have been mailed out. Some of them may be trickling still throughout the rest of April here, but that would be the only piece that you would get in the mail if you did complete the ATI scholarship application. And then ultimately, the email would have notified you to log into Buckeye Link, and that's what I'm going to show you here. All right, so to view your financial aid, you would go to buckeyelink.osu.edu to log in. And the screen to your right is going to show you an example of the various things that you can click on from academics, finances. You have a main to-do list off to the right. But essentially you're going to click on View Financial Aid, which is circled there in red in the middle. And then it's going to pop up and ask you which aid year. So you should only have one aid year, which will say 2021, and you're going to click there. In this area, you're going to have 3 tabs, and the first one opens up to the to-do list tab. These items do require the student's attention. So this example is showing 3 items. The first 3 items are verification items. Verification is a very common process with financial aid. It allows us to make sure that what you submitted on the FAFSA application is accurate. It also allows us to make sure that we are awarding you the most financial aid possible. So in this example, it's still showing that these items are incomplete and that they need to get in. One thing that I will note is that right now, due to COVID-19, student financial aid is being flexible with the due dates. We still encourage you to get those items done if you have been selected, but we do understand that it may take you more time. But for example, like that first one, it's the dependent student and parent verification form. You simply click the link, it opens up into a PDF, you complete it, and then you submit it and return it to us. The one thing I do have off to the right is about the secure uploader. At the bottom of any verification form, it does provide you options on how you can return the documentation required. Right now, if you could use the secure uploader at sfa.osu.edu, that is the most recommended method. And it's quite easy. You can scan, submit, maybe you can snap pictures of your forms, submit it that way. It's perfectly fine. If you ever have any questions about verification, that's why I'm here. Please reach out to me and I'm happy to help. At the very bottom there of that list, it does talk about a loan master promissory note, and I will explain what that item is along with entrance counseling here in just a moment. Okay, so the second tab is your SFA Status tab, which stands for Student Financial Aid. Here's what you'll see when we received your financial or your FAFSA application. And then the cost of education shows you the estimated cost of attendance for this upcoming school year. The expected family contribution number is the number that we received from your FAFSA application. And when you subtract those two, it will be your financial aid need number. So in this scenario, it is showing that this particular student has a high financial need. So we take that need number to see what kind of grants and loans a student is eligible for. Satisfactory academic progress policy that I have another arrow pointing to. It's definitely important to make sure you understand what the SAP policy is, but essentially to be eligible for future financial aid, like your second year in college and so on, you have to be meeting the requirements with SAP. There's 3 areas, includes cumulative GPA, completion rate, and maximum time frame. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail in this presentation on SAP. I covered a little bit more when it comes to orientation time. All right, so the aid summary tab is most likely the one that everyone wants to get to see what they've been awarded. Here you're going to see what grants, student loans, even federal WorkStudy, okay? Other things that might trickle in here is if you completed the OSU scholarship app, those scholarships will be posted in this area. If you were awarded any ATI scholarships, once you do the acceptance process from what the letter entails, then those will eventually be added into here as well. If you applied for external scholarships and those are sent to the university, those will get loaded in here for you in addition, okay? So the grants in this example, it's showing Pell Grant, President's Affordability Grant. Those are automatically accepted for students. Any grants are, same for scholarships, because again, that is free money. Federal WorkStudy and student loan options, those will have 0 in the acceptance column because that then allows you to make decisions if you would like to accept or decline those offers. The green button that you see, that's where you would click to make those decisions. It prompts you right on through. It's quite easy to do. Subsidized loan is a need-based loan, which means the interest does not accrue while you're enrolled in school. The unsubsidized loan is a need-based, or hold on, did I say that right? The subsidized loan is a need-based loan. Unsubsidized is non-need. So your unsub loan would accrue interest while you're in school if you decide to select that one. Federal WorkStudy, and I'll cover that here in just a moment. Again, that's money that you're earning. So you don't want to account for that coming off your statement of account. You would earn that as a paycheck throughout the academic year. There's some helpful links to the left about less than full-time chart, looking at a financing plan, your rights and responsibilities. I always encourage students to take a look at the print financial aid summary button. When you click that, it opens up into a PDF. And it allows you to see the estimated cost of attendance, and it factors in your financial aid award. So it breaks it down by term then for you, autumn and spring semester. Another thing that I will, let's see here, point out, this is showing like this is estimated. Because again, that example, the student has to complete verification. So you want to make sure you're completing verification if you were selected. That way we can finalize your award summary. Another link that might show up here is like for Parent Plus loan, and it would show how much a parent is eligible to borrow. And I'll explain that here in just a minute. But all these blue underlined links allow you to click on. It will either take you to the Federal Student Aid website, or it will take you to the OSU Student Financial Aid page if you want to know more information on them. Further down on the same tab, it will take you so you can see autumn semester and spring semester. All financial aid is divided between both. The only difference, exception I should say, that could happen would be external scholarships. If by chance, if you receive one, and when it's sent to the university and it asks that it just gets dispersed all at once, it will all go towards your fall semester. If it indicates it needs to be split, we divide it between autumn and spring semester for you, okay? All right. So a little bit more on the federal loan process. So with your federal student loans, the maximum that freshmen can receive their first year is $5,500. When you're a sophomore, it can go up to $6,500, and then it goes up to $7,500 then after. So if you do decide to accept any portion of your student loans, maybe you just want your subsidized loan and you want to decline your unsubsidized, or maybe you just want $2,000 of one of your loan offers. Any portion that you accept, you must complete the master promissory note and the direct loan entrance counseling on your to-do list. If you decline your loans, you do not have to do those items. They're gonna hang out there though for quite some time. So you can just ignore them. But I'll make mention again, if you accept any portion of your student loans, you must complete both of those items. Those links will take you to the Federal Student Aid website. And from there, you'll log in with your FSA ID number. So students, make sure it's your FSA ID, not your parents'. Takes about 20-25 minutes each to get those items done. On the right-hand side there, you'll see more about Parent Plus loan information. I do have the link, the direct link to Federal Student Aid. And essentially, it is the cost of attendance minus whatever the student has been awarded for financial aid is the amount that you're able to borrow. It doesn't take very long to fill out that application, and the process time is relatively short too, only about 7 to 10 days. So it's something you don't have to jump on and do right now, maybe later in the summer, if it's a possibility that you need to explore. There is a promissory note that parents complete that finalizes this process then in order for that money to disperse to the student's account. All right, Federal WorkStudy. So if you were offered Federal WorkStudy, you have that decision to accept or decline. If you decline it, then your decision is complete. If you accept it, then you also have to take the initiative to apply for a job on campus. So I do have the website there. However, when you're in your aid summary, you can click on Federal WorkStudy and it will take you right to where you need to go on OSU's webpage to apply for a job. Just make sure that you are searching for the Worcester campus, not the Columbus campus or the Lima campus. Make sure you're putting Worcester as your campus to see what jobs we have offered. Again, you're paid bi-weekly, just like any job. There's taxes that are applied. It's money in your pocket. You can budget how you please, okay? If by chance you're not offered Federal WorkStudy or you weren't interested, so you checked no when you were asked that on your FAFSA application, that's perfectly fine. We have other job opportunities for our students. And in that red box on the bottom of the screen there, it does tell you where you can go. It's kind of a long web address. However, if you're on the ATI website, so ati.osu.edu, you can click search for a student job underneath Money Matters. And anytime this summer is when you can start going to both of those websites and start applying. All right, so estimated expenses for this upcoming school year are already posted. However, again, they're estimated. The Board of Trustees will finalize costs early July, is typically their time frame. So depending whether you're an Ohio resident or non-Ohio resident, you will want to look at the appropriate areas there. And the black bold for average book costs and miscellaneous, those figures there are factored into the cost of attendance, but we're not billing you those amounts, okay? But we do know that that is an expense when going to college. Meal plan is optional, and then also student health insurance is optional too. So you want to make sure that you opt out of the health insurance if you don't need it, if you're already covered, and making sure that you do that before autumn semester begins. All right. Oh, and another point too I want to make here is Ohio State offers a tuition guarantee, which means that what the rates are for this upcoming school year for tuition and fees and your campus housing, those will be the same rates that you'll receive going into your second year, and even when you're with us for a third year. I don't know. All right, and the nice thing about that as well is if you're going down to Columbus eventually to pursue your bachelor's degree, whatever the rates are for the Columbus campus this fall, you'll be linked in with that cohort and would be eligible for those rates when you go down to Columbus. All right, and we are wrapping up here. So external scholarship checks. So if you receive any external scholarships, this here is the address that you would have those mailed to. Whether you need to share that address with somebody else, or if you get the check, that's where you need to mail it. It's to the University Bursar on the Columbus campus. Please do make sure that you do include either your OSU ID number or your last name number in the memo of the check, as well as your full name, students. If you don't have room on the memo of the check, make sure that there is that information included in the envelope when you mail it to the University Bursar. So I will pause if there are any questions. I don't see any right now in the chat. Before I go to the final slide, which will show you my contact information, just in case you want to jot down this address. And I see a raised hand. Let me figure this out here real quick. Okay. Let me see. Oh. Hold on. I think we're going to open it up so you guys can talk. Okay. All right. I think I see a couple hands up. If anybody would like to go ahead and ask any questions, or if you want to put it in the chat. Liz, am I missing out on something? Okay, I see a question now. Okay. All right. First one, can you tell us the interest rate on the parent loan program? Yes, I can. So currently the Parent Plus loan interest rate, and this should go through this next academic year, is 7.08%. For student loans, for the unsub loan, it's 4.53%. So they are relatively less or lower in rates in comparison to private loans. Opt out of the meal plan and the insurance. Okay, so the meal plan, when completing your housing contract, you would have had the choice at that time to select a meal plan. If you were wanting to now opt out of it, if you did select a meal plan, you should just have to email housing@osu.edu and from your OSU email account so they can identify exactly who you are and ask to opt out of your meal plan. Otherwise, you don't have to, if you didn't select a meal plan, you don't have to worry about doing that, okay? As for the health insurance, I don't believe it's up on your main to-do list in Buckeye Link, but eventually you'll have an item that will say student health insurance. And there is an area in Buckeye Link as well in the finance section that you can go in and you can opt out of it. And that is something at orientation time that will be in more detail through our business office too. So you'll hear a lot more about that here in the future. When do internal scholarships normally show up in the aid summary link? Okay, so if your student completed the OSU special scholarships application, those will automatically load in the aid summary. So if they already have a financial aid award and you don't see any additional scholarships, most likely then they weren't selected for any, or maybe they didn't meet certain criteria for those. In regards to the ATI scholarships, those are letters that get mailed out to students. So if your student did receive one, they need to follow the directions in the letter, and then those will get added in. Normally it's early summer. Katie LeMasters manages all of our scholarships, and I can provide her contact information here in the chat if you wanted to follow up with her. But I believe most letters have been mailed out, but normally they sometimes do trickle through the end of this month. All right. Any other questions? there's my contact information for everybody, my email address and my phone number, our websites for ATI and also student financial aid for the university. Definitely feel free to email or call me. I'm happy to help you out and walk you through anything, or even maybe more specific questions or personal questions that you may have. I'm happy to do that on an individual basis. All right. So we got another question here. Okay. So if you're, okay, so it looks like someone's going to be commuting, but on the aid summary, it's factoring in housing. You can basically factor that out. That's perfectly fine. What probably is when maybe you, when filling out the FAFSA at the time, maybe you indicated that maybe he was going to live on campus, so it was factoring in that cost of attendance. But what initially will happen on his statement of account is he'll be billed for tuition and fees, and then he won't be billed for housing if he's not living on campus. So you can exclude those costs. Miscellaneous fees, those fees are fees we do not bill you. It's factored into that cost of attendance because those things would include things such as groceries. For your student who is commuting, your son, factoring in maybe cost of gas back and forth, and how often, you know, is he driving. Potentially for students who do their laundry, maybe personal items, those types of things are factored into that miscellaneous cost. Another thing too with commuting, making sure that your student is filling out the parent close exemption form. You want to make sure if your child is going to be commuting that you are completing that form. I know Mick Steiner through our housing office would have that available, and I'm sure our admissions staff does as well. But just making sure that that's getting submitted so we know your student is commuting. All right, any other questions? I'm gonna scroll back through just to make sure I got everyone's questions. I think I did. All right. Well, I thank you all for listening in today. Again, please feel free to email or call me if you have any questions along the way, and I'm happy you took the time to jump in and learn a little bit more. Hopefully you found it informative.